This I was checking in one of the Twitch streamers that I follow. I believe the man's name is Perry Mello. And it's Twitch Bingo playing Marvel Snap.
Oh,
It was awesome. So I'm gonna have to see if I can reuse it sometime because it's a fun concept. So you play a deck and you're playing against someone. Okay, if it's a location that is like just total RNG, if they play a character with X, if they snap early, if they retreat before turn 4, and then based on that, like they spun a wheel and like gave out a prize and everything.
wow.
It was an
Okay.
engaging way to go. It's cool. It's just this free bingo platform that you can add tiles into.
That's neat. Yeah, do it up. Where are you in this? Come on.
It's like
You're
my slight problem is
professional.
like I I've been incredibly fortunate, incredibly happy. Like anywhere between anywhere between 0 and like 4 people will join me on the stream, which is fantastic. Like that's great. Super happy for that. But to enjoy this type of thing, it's sort of like you need 20, like you need a certain audience, I think, to start to kind of branch into that stuff.
Yeah, I can see that. And
So
way to, call me out for not watching you. Zero.
yeah.
Where are you, Jeff? Where are
Boy,
you?
if only I had a co-host that's been with me for 8 years. But
You
that's okay.
know, join the stream. Even pretend to be somebody else.
That's okay. My wife has never listened to an episode of this show, so
It's probably for a good reason. Like, I don't think mine has either.
it's
Like,
probably for the best.
they're like, I get an hour to myself. They go off and record. I can do whatever I want.
Hey, hey, listen, I was listening to that show. I have a couple thoughts about how you're running things. I'm not really sure it's best.
Yeah.
Like I got to talk about some of your parenting habits. You're like, ooh,
Yeah. All
new
your
dad
advice
game.
is just wrong.
Yeah, and this is the last week of New Dad Gaming. But despite them not listening, some people are listening, and for them, we will get this recording underway because we are live. The adult beverages are poured, the kids are asleep. Welcome to New Dad Gaming, a show about fatherhood, gaming, and new fathers figuring out their gaming lives. My name is Trevor, and I have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old.
And I'm Jeff. I have a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old.
Now, between you and your two lovely kids, who
Yes.
played the most games?
Oh, okay. Between me and my kids, I would probably say my kids, but
Okay.
I probably gave them a good run for their money.
That's the dream. That's fantastic. The best part of the show sometimes is honestly the hope. It's a constant, like, it gets better.
That's right.
Don't worry about it because my kids like mop the floor with me. It
Oh,
it
yeah.
is ridiculous. And you might ask, okay, how can you prove such a thing, or is that just anecdotal?
Yes.
No, folks, we got the data. We have the data to back up the fact that my kids just made a mockery of my pathetic hours of gaming this year. What I'm speaking about is this year's gaming in review. It's a
Yes.
very cool thing. I think Spotify, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure Spotify was one of the first ones to do this type of thing, no?
It definitely made it like the most popular, I think. Everyone like loves that year-end wrapped kind of thing. So,
Yeah. And so everybody followed suit. The next thing you know, Steam comes out with it, Xbox comes out with it, PlayStation comes out with it. Everyone gets to look back on their year and how their year of gaming went. And you posted yours on to Twitter, Jeff. Like, how did your end of year look?
like it wasn't bad. I was like, relatively surprised. 43 games, I think 11 days was my longest streak. Almost 500 gameplay sessions. But what is really surprising to me, right? And this is where Valve needs to listen up. Because I bought a Steam Deck and 100% of my Steam playtime is on the Steam Deck. Like, not one on PC or any other device, Steam Deck only.
That's amazing. The amount of prompting that the Steam Deck, the calling to games that the Steam Deck represented for you is just awesome. And I'm trying to think, when did you only got that like mid-year? Like I don't seem to recall you getting it beginning of the year unless I'm misremembering.
I think it was a year ago, at like almost like November of last year kind of thing. Right? So all this year
Okay.
has
I was
been
off. Yeah.
Steam Deck. All of
Gotcha.
it.
This man, the most part, like you look at these charts, and now we're now looking at a Jeff's chart, just specifically with RimWorld,
Yeah,
which you got real heavy into in
I
April,
did. I
dropped
did.
it, and then August, like skyrocketed with usage of this game.
Yeah, yeah, it's one of those things where you can just pick up and play, and then you get back into those habits, and you're like, yeah, let me do this.
So when you look back on that, and what is interesting for folks to know is that over the next 2 weeks, for the next 2 episodes, Jeff and I are going to do a retrospective on the year that was for Gaming Dads, and then future, the next year. What do we hope for this year coming up in gaming? So I don't want to delve too much into the past, but
Yeah.
I mean, you look at this, and what is your impression? Like, what do you think? It's like, that's pretty good. I'm glad I got an opportunity, or oh, I should have played more different things. Like, what are you struck by when you see the stats?
It's kind of funny that I keep seeing Witcher 3 up in my top 5,
It just never leaves.
and it never leaves. It's always my comfort game. It's always my go-to. So it's funny seeing that there. Like, I'm not shocked, but it's funny that it's always there. And then just playing games that are really meant for like mouse and keyboard, and I'm playing them on the Steam Deck. So it's just like one of those, am I doing myself a disservice and just trying to control these games with the Steam Deck? But like, I had so much fun, and a lot of those hours are well spent. I'm It's between these walls though. This doesn't get out of here, right? Like my wife's not gonna find out. My kids, nothing.
I prefer to think of the mouse and keyboard is just a testament to the hardware that was built.
There you go.
And it's like, you know what? I can handle these games. This is great. So you had a decent year.
Yeah.
And before the recording, we brought up my Steam year. Now, what was your impression of my Steam year in review as far as the games that I played?
I was actually surprised that it went into it because there is a minimum that you have to hit that it has to track.
Yeah, folks, like, not to bury the lead, like, my year was pathetic. Just ass garbage. I can't sugarcoat this whatsoever. It's really sad. I just did not get a big opportunity to play games this year.
No,
12 games altogether
Yay, one each month, right? Like,
through the whole year, 6 achievements unlocked. That it's Elden Ring. It's like, oh, you played Elden Ring for 58% of your playtime in the amount that you played Steam. You're like, oh, that sounds pretty good.
yeah,
You played it 17 times.
that's not so good.
17
I don't know if you made it out of the tutorial area.
And then Marvel Snap, which I really got into like just this last like couple months, honestly, as I started to stream on Twitch. And then Slay the Spire a bit. That was like only one session. I played 12 games. The only time I got any type on a roll was like to play 4 days in a row, which probably was with Elden Ring when I got really into that.
All right.
This is just like the numbers. It's just so sad and pathetic. There's one part where it's like by the numbers, and this is Steam is trying to show you. Okay, here's like how many games did you add? How many awards did you get? How many screenshots? It's just like nothing. Just
Nothing.
blank lines. Trevor of New Dad Gaming was just pathetic. And even with Elden Ring, which they were congratulating me on my amount of play, is you see January and February looking great, and then it craters. I didn't touch it again since March of this year. This is hard to watch, basically, as a gaming dad who runs a podcast on gaming.
You're just playing off the grid, right? Like, this is not.
Yeah.
This can't be.
Well, so this is what happened. So gaming dad looks back on the entire year. It was not. I could tell you it wasn't a good year for gaming. Just
Okay.
how this year shook out. Just how things kind of went. But I was curious. It's like, well, I do use the Xbox a little bit.
Yes.
Either Xbox Game Pass to stream to my PC, or just the Xbox itself. So why don't maybe the Xbox will tell a different story.
Yeah. Let's take a gander.
My Xbox account, which by the way my kids also use, is in the top 5% of all gamers.
Yeah, you did it! Congratulations.
There was 927 hours
Woo.
of game time spent.
That is a lot.
Is so much. I just like, this is so bad. I was trying to think about how much of that is me. And
Right. Yeah.
I did some streaming stuff. I played a number of games on my PC with the Xbox. So it was kind of hard to put it. Starfield, I got like really deep into. So it's, but that even that was like at most 60 hours, right?
Yeah.
And I had played the racing game a whole lot, Horizon. I had played there's the other Star Battler that I can't quite think of the name of it. But even still, it just points to the fact that my kids played a stupid amount of video games this year. It's bad. Like
I mean,
I wasn't even sure I wanted to show this on the show. I did to mention this because it's embarrassing. I'm concerned about how good of a father I am, given the amount of hours that they spent playing games.
I appreciate you ended up sharing it to show how real and authentic you are and sharing your love of games, whether
Yeah.
it's your kids or you, with our audience. But yeah, that's a lot of gaming. I try to look up my kids. I'm going to try and find out theirs because I bet you they almost rival this. And it's not that we're just, allowing them to do this. There's summers. I think we came to that conclusion that summer was like, you know what? Dad still has to work. You're off school. Just go have fun for a bit.
That was
And
that was the savings grace. So when I first saw this number, I did the math. So for myself, it's like how much of that is me? And if I
Yeah.
think about the titles, maybe 100. So there was High on Life, which I probably put in 40, 60 to Starfield, other random ones. So let's call it even like a robust 150 if I'm lucky, right? So that means the entire rest of it, almost like another, 6 or 700 is all them. Oh God! So now I do the math, and the only time they're allowed to play games is on the weekend.
right.
And that math basically computes to them going roughly like 8 or 9 hours a day on the weekend. I'm like, what the hell happened? Are they waking up at like 3 in the morning? Like, do we have to have some serious talk? You did remind me of the summer though. And for the summer, like we would, I will try to defend myself a bit. Like we do limit their playtime. It's like you can wake up, but you can't start playing until 8. Because the problem we had is that they were just, they thought that, oh, whenever I wake up I can start playing, therefore
Exactly.
it kept getting
Yeah.
earlier. No,
There's your
you
3 a.m. PlayStations. Right
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
We don't want that.
So no, you can only start at 8 because so you might as well sleep because like that's too early.
Yeah.
And then 3 or 4 hours we cut them off. But I forgot what in the calculation it was like, oh yeah, summer, every morning of the summer they got up and they had their session. So that certainly computed the numbers, but man, are they living their best gamer life?
I mean, they really are top. What is that? Top 5% of Roblox. Like, woo!
You're in
They're up
yeah,
there.
my sons played 443 hours of Roblox through the year. 20 day their highest the 20 days, so that must have happened in the summer because
Yeah.
it's not during the week unless like they're really pulling a fast one.
Yeah.
You're in the top 5% of this game's most active players. God, man. Just like-
They unlocked that daily roll. They're top 3%. Only other 3% has unlocked that. I mean, come on. We're raising little gamers.
that'll be fine. I'll say this, like I remember I'd be curious even to see like the chart because we had the reset at one point where their grades had not caught up, and we had
Right.
I think they were doing some Minecraft during the week, but we banned it because your grades aren't good enough. Like this, you are granted games when everything else is going really well.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And
that
like they
priority
lost
thing, right?
weekends like if he failed the test or something like that, it was always a teacher had a complaint, like we banned video games for that weekend. Like it was certainly not something, it's not a given necessarily in the household,
Yeah.
but my lord, are they ever just far. The stark contrast could not be sharper. Is Trevor's year in review? It's like, hey, good job, buddy. You played 20 hours of Elden Ring. Good- Way to go, champ. And then look at my kids who are in the top 5% of all gamer time.
I think we're going to have guests on the show, and they're going to be your children to talk about.
Yeah, actual gamers. Hashtag
Actual
real
gamers.
gamers. God, it looks like I'm gonna have some. I think I'm already sensing the theme for our upcoming the upcoming year of gaming.
Yeah.
I
Right?
think I have a theme ready to go for that.
Yeah.
Oh, but hey, gaming dads out there, what was your gaming year in review like? Did you hit the numbers you like? Were you kind of happy about the variety of games you played? Were you distraught, as I was, with the hours your kids managed to rack up in their game time? Reach out to us, newdadgaming.com on Twitter and Threads and Instagram, or newdadgaming.com. Now, speaking of another wonderful father figure, we we have dear Kratos, and there's been an interesting conversation online about his quote unquote softness within the last couple games. Why don't you cue us up on this story?
Yeah, so basically the old director of God of War games, the 1 through 3, before it was remade into what it is kind of now, just commented on, Kratos, that whole character arc of him was not to go down the path of this loving father, and thought that, Kratos was getting soft. And it wasn't about that. It wasn't telling stories about family. It was telling stories about the violence and visceral feeling of being the god of war and slaughtering all these other gods, right? And your path to revenge or redemption or whatever. So it was just something that struck, I think, both of us as kind of like, no, fatherhood is definitely not, not something to be, it's not considered soft is not a bad thing, right? Like to love your child and figure out, hey, look, all the stuff that I'm feeling for my family, I have it here now. I'm going to value that over my revenge path, right? In the whole Kratos character arc. And it's something that, again, I've trying to teach my kids, right? On trying to value love, kindness, respect for each other, empathy. Like those are the things we need to hold tight and, not go to the anger, aggression, I need revenge, blah, 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 right? Which I think the original Kratos games, a lot of people were into that. And like it made sense at the time, maybe even, but then like the character kind of felt like a one-dimensional, you're just playing this person that's going around slaughtering people. And I think they kind of molded that into something that people could really, like as dads, like Kratos' story really hit me in the new remake of it where, he's valuing his kids and now it's this 3D person, right? With emotions and trying to like, what does he do with it? And he can't, he's not perfect. He has flaws and then it goes from there. So yeah, the softness was like, whoa, okay, what?
Yes, it really just feels like sour grapes. Like I don't think there's any really way to. The games had never been more popular. Critical acclaim, sold unbelievably, and the other games. Look, the God of War 1, 2, 3, fantastic. Like just blast. Like they're so amazing. So it's not to detract from it at all. It's like it should have been this all along. The only reason this game, the latest installments of God of War, in my opinion, could be as powerful it was is because it's the contrast to the first ones where it was lust and blood and revenge and gore and like violence and craziness, and then that person has to transition into everything that is involved with being a father. Right. Like you could not have just introduced a brand new character like Frank, like the
Frankos.
Frankos, like his brother, and he's immediately wrestling with these emotions. The entire arc of it, which was so stunning and fantastic and brave, of it was, and it mimics a real life situation where it's like the unfettered or the unreserved thrust of masculinity and like living as like a single man and the changes you go through to become a father, which like we've all wrestled with. Like so much of this show was like us wrestling with this and finding the balance and finding this happiness. And to see a beloved video game character go through that same thing was just like unbelievable. Like absolutely fantastic to take, as you said, to add so many dimensions to what was ultimately a random avatar for violence, which was still great. Like again, like I really don't want to. I would never knock those games.
Yeah,
because they were so great and well done and fun. But then to take that and have them journey through fatherhood, as we all have, were just stunning. And it's so wild to see a certain negativity attached to it. It's like, oh, like he's gone soft. Like it's like, yeah, like in a sense, like it's like. but appropriately, because like you like old Kratos was not necessarily a good person. You know, like
No.
it was a violent maniac avatar for you to like impose some like crazy violent fun stuff on arcade style stuff, and we were able to grow him into a full person, much like we all become his dads, right?
Yeah, and I kind of like what you said there, where it was like it was a risk to take this
Oh,
where it went,
crazy risk.
because the original games, like, again, no spoiler alerts really, but like Kratos lost a family already, right? That's why he's covered in the ash of them, and he's, trying to get revenge on, what he agreed to, and he lost his family to seek power. And in these games, like, that's flipped, right? Like, he understands the value of his family because of his lust for power, right? And then you're trying to like, he's trying to like hold back all those original emotions because now he's a father and a father again, right? And he doesn't want to lose his family, and he has to kind of, again, unpack and undo a lot of that stuff. Again, I love it. I think it's a great arc for such a character. Not knocking the old games, like we said. They were, again, great for their time. I think PlayStation 2, all the way back there, was when they started. So
I just like the man that I'll never forget the scene. I very thankfully have never had an issue, and I attribute this to like it's kind of a golden age that we're growing up in a sense right now, where it's like, you know what, we had silly masculinity, we've had over softness in some ways, and we found this balance of like you can be three-dimensional, you can be unique, you can kind of
Yeah.
like carve your own path and have your own way to do it. But seeing in the game where a man of horrendous violence and difficult path, like all he's trying to do is like put his hand on the shoulder
right,
of his son, and he I think it's like 3 or 4 times he wants to provide that comfort, wants to provide that bond, and just can't. And it finally happens, and you're just like, you're throwing the controller in the air.
right,
It's this
yeah,
triumphant emotional moment, and it's just like a hand touch. But especially for anybody watching, it's a triumphant moment. But especially for a father who's arrived at a place of comfort in their own body, as far as like this is the role of being a dad,
yeah.
and then to see it played out on the screen, genius. So I can never particularly take it very much sounds like some kind of silly dated notions and a bit of sour grapes, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Which
I agree.
I'll tell you this, I could kind of imagine it. It is your creation. You had a vision for it, and now it went in a different direction, and now it gets all this acclaim.
Yeah,
That hurts. That sucks. That's not necessarily fair. So I can see it, but it doesn't mean that the statements aren't wrong necessarily.
that's right. Yeah.
So hey, kudos to one of the. Do we name it? So it's Dad of War. But by the way, I've never beaten it. Neither.
You ever
game.
beat the original?
Neither.
Like the okay.
So it's
Maybe
one
in
of
your
those
gameplay statistics.
It was
God
one of
Lord.
those ones that I was thinking of, like trying to hook up the PlayStation to stream, because apparently like does that. That also works on the iPhone or iPad.
Oh, okay. That'd be a
So
different one. Yeah.
Gonna look into that too. It's on the list, Jeff. I got
It's
a
on
great
the
gaming
list.
retirement coming up.
That's right.
Wait till you see my results next year. We'll see.
That's real.
We'll play it back. Now, games from the past that perhaps should not be unearthed are the Nintendo 64 was a great system,
It was, right?
but the transition, as we all of us who lived it, from 2D to 3D was difficult, to say the least.
Yeah, yeah.
And it left a lot of weird artifacts in its wake, and one such might just be Kirby 64, which showed up in your household, at least a desire for it, for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah. So just to kind of give some backstory to this, my 10-year-old, again, my kids didn't really ask for any games for Christmas. So I thought we were getting away with, other things, whatever. But then my 10-year-old does their final Christmas list. And they put down Kirby and the Crystal Shards. I'm like, that doesn't sound familiar. I don't think that's the latest one. Are you sure? And they showed me, yes, it's Kirby and the Crystal Shards. And I had to look it up, go to a YouTube video. It's Nintendo 64. I had to sit them down and be like, "Are you sure?" like
Really?
we're looking at gameplay, and honestly, Mario 64 I could still play, I think it's
Yeah.
still fun. I think it's hilarious. Like they did a really good job with it, and it can hold up, barring some some other little remnants of N64 past. But this one just, I don't
This is
know. It does not look great. It
it's
doesn't
just
look that fun.
don't sugarcoat it. This is garbage. This looks
It
terrible.
doesn't look good at all. It looks like kind of like thrown together. Like, yeah, we got to do something. Here you go, and it's done. So anyway, like again, trying to humor my 10-year-old. I will see. This has got to be cheap. It's got to be on Nintendo Online, right? Well, yes, it is, Trevor, under the expansion pass, which
Oh
I
my
do not have for the online version.
Yep. So how would you like to get a brand new subscription in order to get this into your household?
So, PSA to any dads that want the expansion pass add-on to an already existing Nintendo Online account, you have to sign up for 12 months. There's no way around it.
Wow.
The expansion pass makes you do a year and then pays whatever else is left on your overall account, right? So this game would cost me $60. And I thought it would be a cheap, oh yeah, I'll just upgrade for $20, a couple months they can play it and then leave it be. Nope. 12 months to get this thing. So we have some thinking to do.
That's gonna be tricky. Did Santa get it? Listen, Santa has taste when it comes to games. Okay,
Santa has a limit to how far back he can go.
Okay, my child. Like Santa has taste, and he's not gonna just drop anything into it.
I mean, we're looking at gameplay, and I can't get past how cookie cut. I don't know. There's something about it that does not look great.
Yeah, I suggest like anybody listening should really go check it out. Like it is, you'll immediately recognize it. It's one of those PlayStation
way to
had
put
these
it.
titles, and 64 did, and it's where it's like baby's first 3D game,
It really is.
and it's just lousy. Like it's so bad.
It actually looks worse than a Roblox game.
Oh yeah. Roblox would steal the Kirby IP, and it could absolutely do better than this.
I wonder if I could find it there. That might be an option.
I guarantee. Yeah, there you go. So there's your secret. I guarantee that IP theft den definitely
There you
has
go.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, but what an interesting pull. Is there anything else on the? Is there any saving grace? Is there any silver lining? Because the expansion pack does have some good titles into it, though, right? So is there kind of like a secret dad angle to this, where you're going to get access to some games you want?
I will get access to some games that I want, and you have options to pay for added, added Mario Kart courses and all that stuff. There's in the booster packs, you can get discounts and stuff, but like it has to go under my account. I can't buy a whole new online expansion pass for their specific account, so they'll have to play under mine, and then yeah, I'll get access to this, but like Nintendo's not very great at pumping out Nintendo 64 titles. I might be ending up with more Kirby games. I don't know. So it's like rolling the dice. I don't know if I want to do $60 to figure that out, but we'll see what Santa has to drink that night and see if that happens.
See what miracles Santa might pull out.
Yes, that's
God, this is really hard to watch. This is so bad.
Can you turn it off, please? I'm like distracted by like how awful.
For the live stream and the YouTube, we like to have games playing in the background, but this is really upsetting. I don't like watching this at all.
It's
This is
just-
so bad.
Triangles fighting each other.
Such a jank. Oh, we'll have to let know how it goes. Now my kids have not thrown in any last minute Christmas stuff, but they did pull a Christmas fast one. We'll call
Oh.
it that. So, one quick story to wrap up the evening, the podcast recording. We were decided to be one of those households this season,
Okay.
and we had a bunch of neighbors over for a Christmas party.
Oh, good.
And super good. Like I'm so happy we did it. Like amazing people we happen to live around, but I wanted to get to know the neighbors more. Wanted to create a sense of community. So you know what? Like we'll clean our house out. I'd never seen this house so clean in my life. It's like this house is great. I wish I lived here.
Yeah.
Never seen this before. Served out a bunch of food. Like everything panned out perfectly. So happy we did it. There was a number of kids that came along as well.
Okay.
Including like friends from school, but otherwise just some from the neighborhood. And it was perfect to see. I'm always so relieved when my kids play well with others, where it's like, okay, you're kind of normal, you can handle this. But they all just kind of like glommed together, ran off, having a good time.
Okay.
But eventually, and you would know that where this is going. Eventually, the question comes up: can we play video games?
Right.
It's like, look, listen, Dad, my numbers aren't very high. I gotta like boost those stats.
I got to get that an extra day streak. Can't.
So they come up and say it, and initially it's like, no, just
Yeah.
look, you're all together. It's a bunch of kids. Like, get some Nerf guns. Like, roll around a bit, have a pillow fight. Just stay offline, have a good time. And they did for a very long. But event came maybe once, maybe twice more. My kids asking me, can we play? It's like, no. I'm like, no, you can't. Now finally they got a little bit wise. Because what they did was they sent one of the friends. They sent one of the neighbor kids to ask, like, hey, like, Mr. Alexander, could we like play some video games? Would you mind? And it's like, oh, look at you, you adorable kid. You don't live here. Like, I like you. You're fine. Like, I don't. I can't say no to another kid. I like
That's
kids. Right. So it's like, oh, go ahead, you little scamp. You. It was all a ruse, Jeff. It was all a ruse. It was planned out from the very inception. It's like, listen, I'm getting stonewalled by my old man. You go up and ask him because he's gonna have a harder time saying no to guests. And they were right. I had a harder time saying no to guests.
Absolutely.
I got just stomped. Like they beat me.
Is there a learning lesson here? Or are you gonna just like say straight up no to that next kid that comes through the door, break their heart, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't even know." Like,
no, shut up, random kid. This is my house and my rules.
we don't play games in this household.
If anything, it's just like never doubt the ingenuity of your kids in order to get their hands on some video games. It was so well played. It's hard to don't hate the player, hate the game.
No, that is amazing. That's that's creative problem solving. That's what that is.
It's you kind of like it. It's sort of like they're understanding the human condition. It's like,
Yeah.
he can more easily say no to me because I live with him, but he doesn't live with you, and he's going to try to be nice to the neighborhood. So like, maybe you go ask.
Turn on those puppy dog eyes. Maybe just carry a puppy and just be like, listen.
Let me just spritz some water in your face real quick. You get some of those like false tears going too.
Oh, that's so good. They got you, sucker.
What can I say? Mark it down. They pulled a fast one on the old man.
That's
Power
right.
to him. Hey, everybody, we'll wrap it up there for the week. Thank you so much for listening. Do you have a good hoodwink story from your kids? Do you have some garbage N64 titles that you're looking to review? What was your game in review? What was your year in gaming like? Your review, and what was your kids like? That's even a bit more of an interesting story. All these things, we love to hear it. Hearing some of the stories from fellow gaming dads is one of the best parts of the podcast. So reach out to us at New Dad Gaming on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, or newdadgaming.com. If you did like the show, you can find us on all the major podcasting networks. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Caster, Spotify, anywhere where you get your podcasts. Just search for New Dad Gaming. If you do so, what really helps us out, if we can ask a favor, is to subscribe. Subscribe and leave a rating or a comment. Really helps boost the signal and gets us out to as many gaming dads as possible. So everyone, once again, I'll thank you for listening. This has been New Dad Gaming. And until next week, my name is Trevor, and I have 0 games played, an 8-year-old, and a 6-year-old.
And I'm Jeff. I have a 13-year-old, a 10-year-old, and maybe Kirby 64.
Please don't.
Please, I know.
Please don't support this. All right, everyone. Remember, just because he became a dad.
Does not mean it's game over.
All right. See you next week.
See you later.